Incredible transformation. Millionaire CEO discovers hidden love with a poor food delivery girl. Jake Reynolds stood at the panoramic windows of his penthouse, the city of Chicago sprawling below like a glittering ocean of ambition and dreamers. He was successful, a tech CEO at 32, wealth that deemed him untouchable by most ordinary measures. Yet, in the reflection of the glass, he saw not the titan he had become, but the isolation of the man behind the brands, a man whose sense of fulfillment had long been usurped by loneliness. The phone in his hand buzzed with life. A simple takeout order felt like an impossible task amidst the whirlwind of investor calls and endless meetings. Suddenly, he felt the crushing weight of a familiar void. What was the point of power and wealth if it came with a broken family? The disapproval in their voices echoed in his mind. "You've forgotten who you are, Jake." Ambition had driven a wedge between him and the values of his parents. A life built on simplicity and togetherness. Not these sterile high-rises and ruthless corporate dealings. Just fettuccine Alfredo, he murmured to himself, as if it could somehow soothe the gnawing emptiness. As he finalized his order, guilt settled in. Here he was, indulging in comfort food while his mother clung to her traditional ways, viewing him as a traitor. It wasn't just his family. It was a world of privilege that he felt forced to navigate, leaving him grappling with an identity that felt increasingly foreign. As Mia Lopez rode her bike through the rain-soaked streets, she wrestled with exhaustion. Balancing multiple jobs to care for her ailing mother and pile of bills felt like an unending uphill climb. Yet, beneath the fatigue, small triumphs flickered like candlelight in the dark corners of her life: the gratitude of a customer, the shared laughter with coworkers during fleeting moments of downtime. Chicago was chaotic, but it held a charm, a relentless rhythm that she clung to. When she pulled up to Jake's building, drenched but determined, she had no inkling her day would soon spiral into the extraordinary. As he swung open the door, her heart skipped, not from attraction, just sheer surprise. For a moment their worlds collided. He was a long-sought refuge from her struggles, and she was an unexpected light in his overwhelming darkness. "Hey, I've got your food," she offered with a smile. Their small conversation flickered into deeper discussions about dreams and hardships, exposing vulnerabilities neither had dared to share with anyone else. Weeks passed, and what began as a simple delivery evolved into an intricate dance of late-night talks over pasta, laughter that transcended worlds, hearts finding solace in each other. Yet shadows loomed. Jake's affluent friends and family scoffed at this connection, questioning why he'd lower himself to mingle with someone defined by struggle. Each disdainful glance felt like razors cutting deeper into the fragile fabric of their bond. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of Jake's family gathering began ostensibly like any other, but within was a powder keg of pressure. As his mother, seated with her icy demeanor, spared no scorn for Mia, Jake's instincts wrestled with loyalty. She wasn't just an employee. She was his friend, the only person who seemed to see him amidst the corporate hullabaloo. Yet here was the chasm between them, glaring and unbridgeable. "Mia isn't your type, son," his mother reprimanded, her eyes narrowed, seeking to poke holes in the fragile tapestry they had weaved. Underneath, Jake felt the surge of desperation to defend her fluttering within him, yet uncertainty gripped him. Was he truly willing to defy his family's expectations for a woman from the other side of the tracks? Mia stood nearby, her expression a mixture of fear and bravery, her heart beating an echo of anxiety against the tension suffocating the room. Would he stand up for her? Or would silence reinforce the barriers they'd fought so hard to overcome? As his thoughts spiraled into chaos, Jake faced the precipice of a decision that would define his very essence: the forced loyalty to family, or the hope of transcendent love. The silence thickened, isolation creeping back into his chest, leaving him with one haunting question. Could he ever seize the courage to break free? The room buzzed with unresolved emotions, and as his world teetered on the brink, everything about their future felt uncertain. Jake felt the air grow heavier, thick with expectations and unsaid words. His mother's glare felt like a spotlight, shining down on the doubts he wrestled with. He glanced at Mia, her uncertainty contrasting with the ethereal glow of shared laughter and warmth they had built outside this imposing building. Right now, however, the moment felt disintegrating. "Mom, she's not just a delivery girl," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Yet the conviction trembled through his tone. "She's someone who understands me, someone who listens when everyone else just speaks." With each word he clawed for his own authenticity, the simmering sense of loyalty to his own growth fighting against familial expectations. His mother's incredulous laughter filled the space. "Understand you? Son, those dreams won't pay the bills. This is a game where you can't afford to lose. You think this life is about feelings? It's about strategy. You're jeopardizing everything because of this infatuation." Infatuation. It was a term that felt utterly shallow against the depth of what he had discovered with Mia. Jake blinked hard, the whirlwind of emotion pushing him closer to the breaking point. In that moment, he saw the flaw in his mother's argument. Their lives weren't so different after all. Mia fought her own battles daily. She took risks, made sacrifices, and carved out life's joy against every obstacle. Just as his world was filled with the pressure to achieve, hers was a relentless fight for survival. Suddenly, the irony of the situation struck him. Here he was, sheltered in a luxurious world, and all the success amounted to no fulfillment, while Mia's simple existence was infused with purpose and connection. He felt a shift in himself, a realization that twisted within him, challenging decades of ingrained misconceptions. "I need to show you that love isn't about wealth or status, Mom," he declared, now standing fully firm, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. This was an emotional risk, but so was every innovative idea he had fostered at his company. "It's about support, respect, and shared dreams. We all deserve that." Mia's eyes widened with surprise, her vulnerability giving way to a hopeful spark. As she caught his gaze, it was as if they shared an unspoken understanding. Yet his declaration only ignited his mother's indignation further. "Jake, do not think for a moment that I will allow you to waste your life on a fleeting desire," she snapped, her words sharp enough to slice through the tenuous hope building inside him. "Think about your future. Think about us." But what if his old life was the very definition of wasted? He stood at a crossroads, a place where influence collided with genuine feeling. The war inside him was palpable. Beneath the sleek surface of his life, Jake slowly began to realize that authenticity bore a different kind of strength, one that could disrupt the norms and rewrite his story. Moments stretched, filled with tension as he locked eyes with Mia. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about him reclaiming the narrative of his own life. "Mia, I want to be with you," Jake said, the words pouring out as an echo of the realization that had taken root in his heart. The room froze, a charged stillness wrapping around them all. Jake's mother wore a look of disbelief. He felt her silent fury radiating like heat. Yet, within Mia's sudden gaze, he saw something far more powerful: an acceptance of their shared focus, a mutual recognition that transcended societal barriers. With the heat of revolution igniting inside him and the shadows building around them, Jake found himself teetering between familial loyalty and the dawning realization of who he really wanted to become. In that charged moment, he turned sharply on his heel, leaving the room behind him. Neither the circumstances nor the expectations would dictate his future any longer. As he rushed down the penthouse hall, the rest of the world faded away. There, against the backdrop of the city that never stopped, he faced a new dilemma. Could he broadcast this transformation outwards? Could he gather the courage to confront not only his family but also the hypocritical circles that had confined him for years? The vision before him blurred. Chicago's skyline became a symbol of both ambition and reclamation, a reminder that a different path awaited him, one forged through sincere choices. But was the world ready for the truth of who he was about to show? The question hung in the air as Jake grappled with the emerging urgency for this next phase of his life. He could step forward into the unknown or let fear keep him rooted in a gilded cage. And then silence. What would his next move be? Would he truly step outside the confines of expectations, or would he pull back into the familiar shadows? The moment loomed heavy, pregnant with possibility, as Jake stood before the balcony, facing the horizon. A choice was demanding to be made. Jake stood on the balcony, gripping the railing tightly as he gazed out over the Chicago skyline. The city pulsed with life beneath him, a vibrant tapestry of possibilities and choices unfurling with every passing moment. Yet here he was, confronted with a truth so profound it threatened to shatter the only life he had ever known. Taking a deep breath, he forced himself to focus. This wasn't merely about Mia. It was a confrontation with the identity that had been handed to him, and the person he wanted to become. He remembered the sensation of laughter shared between them, how her eyes lit up when they discussed dreams, struggles, and the future. He had tasted something real, something alive amid the noise that filled his family's world. The tension in his chest tightened again. Could he carry this conviction outward, into the faces that had molded his existence? Every fiber of his being whispered doubts yet rallied against them, the risk of disappointing his family, the threat of social ostracism from his peers. But worse still was the idea of suffocating under a life that felt more like a masquerade than an embodiment of his true self. Jake stepped away from the railing and paced back inside, every step heavy with determination. He made his way to Mia's apartment, filled with a newfound urgency. Each footfall resonated with the commitment he was forging. This was not just about declaring his feelings. It was a declaration of self against the tide of expectations. The comforting scent of the wildflowers they had picked together just days before perfumed her small space when he entered. It instantly calmed him, grounding his swirling thoughts. Mia was sprawled on the couch, deep in conversation with a friend over the phone. The sight wrapped around his heart, filling him with a mix of joy and apprehension. He wanted to share every piece of this new realization with her. Yet the enormity of emotional upheaval loomed over him, making his heart race. When she turned around and saw him, her expression shifted from surprise to delight. Jake approached cautiously, treading the line between urgency and reverence. They exchanged a knowing smile, a connection lingering in the air like an electric charge. "Jake," she began, her brow furrowing slightly, "is everything okay?" The question mirrored Jake's internal struggle. Was everything really okay? He was walking a line that could very well sever ties with everything he had known. But in that moment, staring into her warm eyes, he let his confidence pierce through the fog of doubt. I realized something." His voice was steady, but the vulnerability prickled in the corners of his tone. "I don't want to hide anymore. I want to share my life with you. I want you to be part of my world regardless of what people think." The look in her eyes shifted from confusion to understanding, and a hint of hope flickered there. Yet, he could see the specter of fear hovering in her expression. Would she be ready to face the challenges that this connection would bring? Would she understand the risk he was willing to take? "Jake, that's incredible, but are you sure?" She responded cautiously. She struggled, too, as if she feared their connection might not withstand the pressures surrounding them. "It's terrifying," he admitted, moving closer to her. "But I need to chase authenticity, not just for me but for us. I'm tired of living in the shadows of my own fears and expectations. I want to show you who I really am, outside of all the barriers I've imposed on myself." Her gaze hardened with resolve. "If that means standing against the world, then we'll face it together," she said, her voice steadying as determination settled between them. "But Jake, this won't be easy. It will shake everything we know. Are you ready to deal with the fallout?" The question cut deep, yet it also ignited something fierce within him. He nodded, the weight of their shared conviction propelling him forward. "I am." The air between them shifted, a delicate mix of hope and defiance, as they began to explore what it truly meant to be. Together, Jake could feel layers of pressure stripping away, revealing a more profound understanding of love and trust. Each moment solidified not just his identity, but also a bond that invited him to step into an unfamiliar, frightening yet exhilarating realm. But even as he allowed himself to dream of this future, doubts lingered. The repercussions of his decision loomed, and he couldn't shake them away. Could he truly redefine his existence, fight for what he wanted against a storm of family obligation and societal pressure? Jake turned to look at Mia, the resolve in her eyes a beacon of solidarity he could lean into. They had ignited something special, yet the challenges they faced were still alive and pressing. "What comes next?" he asked, the weightiness of uncharted territory heavy around them. As they both breathed in the possibility of transformation, Jake realized the next phase of this journey was just beginning. They might be ready to explore their relationship further, but the world's expectations were waiting to pounce. And those who felt threatened would not remain silent for long. Would the connections they forged withstand the impending storm? The days that followed Jake's confession were a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. Each morning as he woke, the sunlight streaming through the curtains felt different, charged with the potential of change, yet tainted by shadows of uncertainty. He was stepping into uncharted waters, and with each interaction with Mia, he could feel the ripples it created, not just in their lives, but in the lives around them. On that first day back at work, he entered the high-rise office building, and the familiar hum of his colleagues discussing projects, deadlines, and networking opportunities drowned out the voices in his head that warned him to retreat. The pressure of expectations pressed down on him, but the resolve he'd felt with Mia wrapped around him like a cloak. He was not the same Jake he had been the week before. Something had transformed within him. As he passed the glass-walled conference room, he caught sight of a few of his peers scanning through their notes. Laughter echoed from inside, a reminder of camaraderie that felt foreign amidst his brewing internal storm. Could he really confront them when the conversation shifted to their social circles? The veiled hints of his family's ambition loomed like specters, whispering the dangers of saying anything that might make him seem different. Instead of succumbing to fear, he chose to smile, a gesture of defiance against the smallness he had felt for so long. "Jake, can you come in here for a sec?" called Nathan, his supervisor, from the conference room. The invitation felt laced with expectation. As he entered and took a seat at the table, he noticed the glances exchanged behind pretend smiles. Was the atmosphere charged with curiosity about his newfound relationship, or were they still oblivious? "Great seeing you in here. We wanted to go over the latest strategy for the new campaign, but we also heard there's something interesting going on with you." Nathan's tone dripped with a mix of friendly interest and veiled scrutiny. Jake felt his heart pound in his chest. Here it was, the investigation into his personal life. Did he dare to share? Thoughts raced through his mind. Acceptance and rejection, ambitions and fears. Recognizing this moment as pivotal, he decided to confront his apprehension head-on. "Actually, I'm in a relationship with someone I care about a lot." The room fell hush. He had thrown the pebble into the pond, sending visible ripples across the group. Faces reacted, some of surprise, others masked amusement, and a few with unspoken judgment. Yet, amidst all of this, Jake remained anchored in his newfound authenticity. "Is she in the industry?" one of the junior analysts asked, unable to hide the borderline condescending curiosity. "No," Jake replied, tapping into the defense he had rehearsed in his mind. "She's a food delivery girl. But you know what? She's brilliant and passionate about life. That matters more to me than any job title." The reaction was instantaneous: raised eyebrows, sarcastic chuckles, and exchanged glances filled with disbelief. Jake's chest tightened instinctively, a pang of regret creeping in. Would this decision come back to haunt him within the very social structure he had spent years carefully navigating? Yet, something else flickered in his chest, a flame of conviction. This was, after all, exactly why he had chosen this path with Mia. He was fighting for the kind of love that inspired him to be his raw, true self, unfettered by pretense. After the meeting, whispers and side glances followed him, but Jake found solace in the knowledge that these reactions were not going to dictate his worth. Walking through the bustling city streets that evening, he allowed the cacophony to wash over him while he cultivated thoughts of what he truly desired. Success not just in his career, but in a life well lived. When he arrived at Mia's apartment, a wave of relief enveloped him. The scent of dinner wafted through the small space, and he saw her beaming as she looked his way. "How was work?" she asked, placing a plate in front of him. "It was eye-opening," he said, revealing only what he felt equipped to share. They could face the world together, but he wanted to protect her from the chatter that he knew would swirl. As they settled into comfortable conversation, Jake felt the day's pressure seep from his shoulders. Jake's heart raced as he motioned toward the door, hesitant to break the newfound sense of warmth he had settled into with Mia. The knock was jarring, threatening the fragile peace he had only just begun to embrace. He glanced at Mia, her expression shifting from excitement to apprehension, mirroring his own. "Should I get it?" she asked, a quiver of uncertainty in her voice. "Yeah, let us see who it is," Jake replied, his voice steadier than he felt. He pushed down the tightness in his chest, forcing himself to embrace whatever the unexpected visitor brought. Mia opened the door slightly, revealing a figure that sent a chill through the room. Elena, his former colleague and a trusted friend, now standing there with an intensity that made Jake's stomach twist. "Hey, can I come in?" she asked, a hint of urgency in her tone. Without waiting for an invitation, she stepped past Mia and into their small haven. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her eyes darting between him and Mia. As the door closed behind them, the air thickened, the joyful warmth dissipating in an instant. Jake sensed the storm brewing not just outside, but within himself. He tried to maintain a facade of calm, but his thoughts raced. Was she here to expose him? To confront him about his relationship with Mia? Did the whispers reach her ears too? "Sure, what is going on?" he asked, trying to embody the ease he had felt just moments before. "It's about work," Elena replied, her brow furrowed. "There's been some less than flattering talk about your choices and who you're seeing. People are looking at you differently, Jake. It's not just about managing expectations. They're questioning your ability to lead." Her words clawed at him, triggering a mix of indignation and fear. His worst apprehensions were becoming reality, and he felt the ground beneath him destabilize. That's what he feared, a shift in perception as he strived to step out from the shadows of conformity. But why was that still gripping him? "Look, I'm not out to undermine you," she continued, sensing his growing agitation. "I genuinely care about you. But the higher-ups are worried about your judgment. They expect a certain level of polish and connections. They see you with someone outside of it. Well, you know how they can be." Jake swallowed hard, anger and pain coalescing in a complicated knot. "Mia is worth so much more than a job title or public perception. Are you really saying I need to compromise my happiness for their approval?" His heart pounded with a sense of righteous defiance. Just as he was beginning to believe love overcame their dissonance, her revelation cracked that belief open wider. It wasn't just about what he felt for Mia. It was about the battles fought within the confines of his corporate world tangled with personal desire. "I'm saying that if you want to survive here, you might have to play the game," Elena pressed, her voice unyielding yet laced with genuine concern. "It's not about accepting their rules. It's about bending them until you can find balance." Jake clenched his jaw. "And what if I'm done playing games? What if I'm ready to earn my place based on who I really am instead of pretending? What if I don't want to climb that ladder anymore?" An uncomfortable silence fell between them. In that stillness, he could feel a crack forming not only in his relationships but within himself, questioning if he even had the resolve to reject the very systems that had been so deeply ingrained in him. Mia, who had been quietly observing, suddenly stepped forward. "Jake, I believe in you and I appreciate your choice to be authentic. But it's a tough world out there. Are you prepared to fight for your truth?" Her words stirred him, igniting a flicker of resolve amid uncertainty. He had to decide whether to sink into the easy comforts of acceptance or fight for the authenticity that he had just begun to claim. "Elena, thank you for your honesty," Jake said, trying to regain his footing. "But the fundamental question isn't about their expectations. It's about what I will allow to dictate my life. I will not live my life in fear of their views. I'm ready to face the consequences." As he spoke, he felt something shift within. He was ready for the battle ahead, even if it would test everything he believed. The world outside may judge, but inside, clarity began to crystallize. He was no longer the same Jake. Just as the air grew tense with the weight of his emerging convictions, a harsh buzz from Jake's cell phone broke the moment, the ding echoing ominously through the room. Jake glanced at the screen, narrowing his eyes on the name flashing before him. It was Nathan, his supervisor. Would this be a call that might tip his world upside down again? Jake exhaled slowly, the weight of Elena's words still lingering as he lifted the phone to his ear. He felt the world around him shift again, not just by the call but by his own internal storm. Nathan was known for his decisive yet often harsh demeanor. A call from him usually meant trouble. "Jake, we need to discuss your recent performance." Nathan's voice crackled through the speaker, formal and urgent. "I'd like to meet in an hour." The sentence hung in the air, a judgment layered beneath his carefully measured politeness. Jake's pulse quickened, and anxiety bubbled in the pit of his stomach. "Sure, where?" he asked, trying to keep the tremor out of his voice. "Conference room B." Nathan replied curtly before disconnecting. The silence left in the call's wake felt suffocating, like the confines of an office that had suddenly transformed into a cage. Jake's thoughts spiraled. The talk with Elena hadn't helped. A looming fear took shape. What if Nathan's concerns echoed those of the others? Had they already made up their minds about him? He glanced sideways at Mia, who silently absorbed the tension in the room. "You okay?" she asked, her brows knitted in concern. "I don't know," Jake admitted, feeling more vulnerable than he wanted to show. I can't go back to living in fear. I can't change who I am for them." Mia stepped closer, a steady presence against the chaos brewing inside. "Then don't," she encouraged. "You have a voice, Jake. Use it." Her unwavering belief in his potential sparked a flicker of defiance. He felt determined to embrace the authenticity he had fought so hard to uncover. Would today be the day that he finally stepped into his own power, no matter the cost? As he gathered himself to head to the meeting, he realized that his choice was not merely about facing Nathan, but about asserting who he wanted to become. This interaction could be more than just another pushback. It was a stepping stone towards shaping his identity, both personally and professionally. Arriving at the conference room, he took a moment, inhaling deeply and adopting a confident stance. This was the moment for a difficult conversation, one that could determine not only his career, but how he saw himself in the corporate world. Nathan was already seated at the edge of the long table, tapping his fingers impatiently. The air was thick, expectation hanging like a cloud. Jake slid into the seat across from him, squaring his shoulders. "Let us get to it, shall we?" Nathan said, his tone clipped. "You may have noticed some chatter around the office lately." Jake nodded. "I'm aware." Nathan leaned forward. "They're concerned about your abilities to lead effectively, particularly regarding your recent personal choices." Burning indignation sparked within Jake. "My choices shouldn't dictate my qualifications or work ethic. I'm more than my relationships." Nathan's response was dismissive, the flicker of irritation crossing his features apparent, but Jake wasn't done. "If you're judging my capabilities solely on whom I choose to be with, then you're overlooking my skills, vision, and dedication to this company." The tension escalated and Jake's heart raced, but the rush felt different this time. It was fueled not by fear, but by a determination to disrupt the status quo. He needed to assert his truth not just for him, but for others like him who might feel compelled to conform. Nathan raised an eyebrow, surprised, assessing Jake anew. "You think you can change how things operate around here?" "I have to believe that I can." Jake felt a thrill of adrenaline. "If I can't change minds, I'll have to change my situation. I want to become someone I'm not for the sake of your comfort, or for anyone else's approval." The silence following his admission was heavy, but it was a silence filled with tension that signaled the start of a reshaping conversation. As Nathan processed his words, Jake realized he was at a crossroads, not just regarding his job, but in understanding how to navigate his professional environment authentically. An unsettling thought punctuated the innovative high he felt. Would Nathan's next response shatter this newfound resolve? Or could this be the beginning of a significant shift in his career? The answer loomed. A decision burning on the edge of his consciousness. Was he prepared for whatever would come next, including the possibility of losing everything he had fought for? The quiet weighed heavily on them both, like a thick fog hovering just out of reach. Nathan shifted in his seat, visibly calculating Jake's boldness. Jake's heart hammered as he waited for Nathan either to unleash a torrent of criticism, or to respond in a manner that might open the door to something new, recognition, perhaps, or even an alliance. "I admire your tenacity," Nathan finally said, his tone shifting, albeit slightly. "But the office dynamics aren't about admiration. They're about results and perceptions. Are you prepared to face that reality?" Jake's resolve momentarily faltered. The specter of judgment loomed, echoing the doubts that had long haunted him. He was aware of the scrutiny he faced daily. It was not simply about performance but about fitting in, conforming to a corporate facade that he now stood against. The question hung in the air. Would confronting it mean conceding something vital? "I believe I can bring value in a way that matters," Jake asserted, more a declaration than a rebuttal. "If that isn't enough for you or the company, maybe you need to reconsider what results truly look like." The air crackled with intensity, Jake felt a tremor of fear kick against the ribs of his ambition. Would Nathan dismiss his resolve outright? Or worse, would he escalate the conflict, drawing attention to Jake as the troublemaker? Nathan studied him, the gears in his head visibly turning. For the first time, Jake saw a glimmer of uncertainty flash across Nathan's features. It was as if his authority had been challenged in a way that demanded recognition. In that instant, Jake realized what was happening. It wasn't just Nathan facing him. It was the embodiment of the corporate culture being examined under scrutiny. I need to know you can lead effectively beyond just words, Jake, Nathan said, voice steadying. Let's discuss your next steps. If you can meet expectations, you could shape this department. But you must prove to me that you're not just reacting emotionally. Jake swallowed hard, adrenaline coursing through him. This was the opportunity to define a path that could either tether him to mediocrity or propel him into a new realm. He transitioned from fear to determination, his mind racing through strategies that could convert his vulnerability into tangible outcomes. What would it take? Jake inquired, unearthing not just hope but a pragmatic inquiry that would demand engagement. What's the measurable goal? Nathan's expression softened slightly, now encroaching upon clarity. I want to see a project that showcases your leadership capabilities. Take the initiative, propose a plan, lead a team. If you can rally others behind your vision and demonstrate growth, you'll earn respect. It's a task, yes, but it's also a chance for you to prove you belong here. The magnitude of Nathan's words struck Jake. This wasn't just about proving himself. It held the potential for transformation not only in his career, but on a personal level. Here was the awaited crossroads, the possibility of melding his ambitions with genuine passion, forging a new lane on the corporate highway. Consider it done, Jake replied, his voice a firm echo of commitment. Remember, every decision reflects on you and your team moving forward. Don't let personal matters interfere with your professional image, Nathan cautioned. Jake nodded, fully internalizing the weight of Nathan's counsel while understanding the truth. This was about growth, about elevating others alongside him. As he walked out of the conference room, clarity washed over him. This challenge might not only demand the best of his technical abilities, but also require him to lean on those relationships he had previously viewed as weaknesses. Conflicted emotions simmered beneath the surface. Could he balance authenticity and professionalism? The realization crystallized. In accepting this challenge, he embraced a personal metamorphosis beyond the shadows cast upon him. Outside, Mia caught his eye, the spark of encouragement radiating from her. How did it go? She asked. Jake took a deep breath, grappling with emotions that spiraled in anticipation. I've been given a chance, but I need to step up and truly lead this time. Her smile broke through, replenishing hope. You're ready, you know? Just don't forget to embrace what makes you. As he turned to leave, the initial thrill of potential shifted into the dark undercurrents of uncertainty. Yet he could almost hear the whisper of resilience. Was he truly prepared to navigate this new course? The moment lingered in an unresolved tension, the question echoing in his mind: what would personal sacrifice demand as he prepared to take authority over his newfound identity? Jake stood just outside the conference room, the buzz of his thoughts still circling in frantic loops. The challenge Nathan had laid at his feet felt monumentally daunting, but also invigorating. It was no longer about merely surviving the corporate landscape. It was about actively reshaping it. He took a deep breath, forcing himself into focus. The first step required a clear idea, not just in his mind but on paper. As he settled back into his workspace, the familiar ambience enveloped him, a blend of low conversations, the rhythmic clack of keyboards, and the indistinct hum of machines working tirelessly. He studied the faces around him, considering each one as a potential ally or obstacle. Would they join him or would they obstruct his path? This project would demand more than just personal resolve. It required collective effort and trust. He opened his laptop, fingers poised above the keys. A blank document stared back, as if reflecting his own uncertainty. But instead of dwelling on fear, he visualized the project. What could it be? A new client strategy, perhaps? A community outreach initiative? With each passing moment, inspiration struck, and a simplistic idea transformed into a foundational outline. Jake's fingers flew across the keyboard, capturing the essence of his vision. He began with core objectives that aligned with the company's goals. employing metrics he had learned in previous projects. Next, he sketched a plan for collaboration, carefully identifying his team members with whom he felt connected: Amy with her creative insights, Mark for his analytical prowess, and Lucia, whose organizational skills could bind it all together. But as the outline formed, doubt crept in. Could he summon the courage to share this plan with them? What if they looked at him, the perennial underdog, and saw failure rather than a leader? The specter of their skepticism lingered in the back of his mind. "Hey Jake." A friendly voice pulled him from his reverie. It was Amy, leaning against the wall with curiosity reflected in her eyes. "What's got you looking so serious?" He hesitated, heart racing at the thought of voicing his ambitions. "I'm working on a new project proposal, something Nathan challenged me to lead." Her eyebrows shot up, impressed. "That's awesome. What's the concept?" In that moment, Jake realized the hesitation wasn't just fear. It was a chance for connection. He opened up, explaining his ideas, revealing the motivations behind them. As he spoke, Amy's face lit up, encouraging him further, nodding thoughtfully and adding her perspective. "This could work really well within the company's direction," she said, excitement bubbling in her voice. "Let me help. Together we can refine this into something memorable." Encouragement bloomed in his chest. It was less daunting now, knowing he wouldn't have to carry the burden alone. Their collaborative energy sparked ideas, dreams of what this project could be, and how they could present it to Nathan. In this budding alliance, Jake felt his confidence begin to solidify into something tangible. With Amy's support, they crafted a timeline, aligning realistic goals with stages of accountability. He found delight in the exchange of ideas, unlocking new angles he hadn't considered before. The tension that once wrapped around him began to dissipate, and the urge to connect rather than conceal surged within him. As the day turned to twilight, Jake and Amy had a cohesive pitch ready, a structure that echoed not only his vision but incorporated vital contributions from their collective insights. They shared a satisfied glance, the electricity of collaboration radiating. In that unity, Jake felt a shift. He was not just seeking validation but was creating something that mattered. Just before leaving, he glanced at his reflection in the office glass. Was he truly ready to lead? The soft knock of uncertainty danced within him, but he stood resolute. He had taken the first step. As long as he engaged with his team, openness could breed resilience. The following day would mark a crucial moment. Presenting their project would require conviction, and the risk of exposure thrummed in his veins. What if Nathan didn't embrace their direction? What if the team faltered instead of rallied? As he prepared to leave, a new awareness dawned upon him. This journey was not merely about success, but also about learning the delicate balance of vulnerability and strength. In the thrill of anticipation, a question pulsed within him: could he truly harness the power of shared leadership? Or would this goal still feel just out of reach? The morning sun filtered through the office blinds as Jake arrived early, determined to solidify his resolve before the crucial presentation. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, its warmth a soothing balm against the tension pooling in his stomach. He placed his laptop on the desk, a sense of purpose radiating from him. Today was pivotal. As his colleagues trickled in, Jake's pulse quickened. He exchanged pleasantries, yet his mind remained focused on their proposal. Amy approached him, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Ready for this?" "More than ready," he replied, buoyed by her enthusiasm, yet inwardly wrestling with the weight of expectation. The stakes felt higher than any project he had undertaken before. It was an intersection of opportunity and fear, but he clung to the idea that growth emerged from challenge. Flipping through his notes, he mentally rehearsed their presentation. He aimed to emphasize shared leadership, how each member's strengths would be instrumental in achieving the project's success. He visualized each point, anticipating questions and crafting responses in his mind. Every scenario played out like a movie, where he could either rise heroically or falter spectacularly. As the clock approached 9, the team gathered in the conference room. Nathan entered, exuding authority, his expression unreadable. Jake felt the collective gaze of his colleagues upon him, amplifying his anxiety. He took a deep breath. This was his moment. He stepped forward, feeling both exhilarated and vulnerable. "Good morning, everyone," he began, voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of urgency. Today, we are excited to present an initiative that not only aligns with our company's goals, but could redefine our client engagement strategies. Jake launched into the core objectives, visibly gaining momentum. The words flowed from him, an infusion of passion and conviction. Amy chimed in with supportive data, her insights enhancing the narrative he was crafting. He glanced around the room, noting subtle nods of agreement and even a spark of interest in Nathan's eye. However, as they transitioned to the collaborative aspect of their plan, doubt surged. Would Nathan appreciate the emphasis on shared leadership? Would his colleagues rally behind it? Questions bubbled in Jake's mind, hurling shadows of uncertainty into the bright light of optimism he had built. Just as he was about to conclude, Nathan interjected. Interesting concept, Jake. But can you explain how shared leadership translates into measurable results? We're driven by data. Convince me. Jake felt his heart race. This was the confrontation he'd half prepared for, the moment where visionary ideals met cold, hard practicality. Absolutely. The data indicates that teams with collaborative frameworks not only innovate more effectively, but also achieve a higher success rate on projects. Engagement rises when team members feel their contributions matter. Nathan's brow furrowed slightly, contemplating. That's all well and good, but you need to ground it in specifics. What metrics can we expect? The pressure in the room mounted, the challenge reframing his thoughts. Jake's confidence wavered, momentarily blurring what had been clear just moments before. But the encouragement of his teammates surged within him, weaving a shield against the weight of skepticism. He remembered the values he had explored in the mirror that morning, the essence of vulnerability, balanced with ambition. I appreciate that feedback and I'll provide those specifics, he replied. We can implement a tracking system that monitors participation rates, feedback loops, and project outcomes over the next quarter. A slight nod of approval emanated from Nathan, although Jake could sense the scrutiny still hanging in the air. The room was divided. Some were with him, others still hesitant. He sensed the urgency in the moment, the palpable need to not just maintain momentum but to spur it. Taking a calculated risk, he urged, let this be the start of something greater than any one of us. If we empower each other, I truly believe we can innovate beyond what we thought possible. With a final glance at Amy, he finished, I'm excited to work together on this, redefining what success looks like as a team. Silence enveloped the room momentarily. Jake held his breath, aware that this was not just a proposal but a reflection of who he wanted to become, a leader. Not merely by title, but through action and belief. As he awaited Nathan's response, Jake realized he had taken that leap into the unknown, embracing his role with genuine authenticity. But would this risk yield the support and trust he desperately sought? As Nathan leaned back, assessing, Jake felt the anticipation crackling in the air. Would it be a breakthrough or a breakdown? Nathan studied Jake for what felt like an eternity, the silence stretching thin, filled with a tension that made Jake second-guess every word he had spoken. He absorbed the varying reactions in the room, some creased brows of skepticism, the slight smiles of those on board, and a palpable weight from those still entrenched in doubt. Finally, Nathan spoke, his tone level and measured. I appreciate your passion, Jake. Let us be clear. This approach is bold. But if it can be demonstrated effectively, there's potential here. It's about execution. Jake's heart raced. Execution. This was it, the chance he had been waiting for. Thank you, Nathan. I'll make sure the plan not only tracks our metrics but integrates feedback to continually adapt. With Nathan's nod of acknowledgement, a flicker of relief ignited within Jake. He had done it. The risk he had embraced by voicing his authentic vision had not only been heard but had taken root in the larger conversation. This was no small victory, it was a deliberate step toward a future defined not by societal expectations, but by his core values. The meeting concluded shortly after, with Nathan scheduling a follow-up to review their metrics once implemented, leaving Jake energized. As he left the room, cheers and claps erupted from his colleagues. A mixture of relief and excitement was evident. They had achieved something beyond the mere proposal, a bonding experience that spoke to the values Jake had discovered with Mia. Outside the conference room, familiar faces approached him, gratitude shining in their eyes. We're all genuinely excited to work on this in the coming weeks. Amy beamed, her enthusiasm infectious. Jake felt the weight of loneliness lifting, slowly replaced by a robust sense of community. For the first time, he realized the power of collaboration, how shared visions could cultivate more than just success. They could solidify purpose and connection. As he exited the high-rise later that day, Jake's grin widened, mirrored by the vibrant Chicago skyline. He had risen above the contempt of fear and doubt, transforming them into strength. He felt himself moving into the world not just as a CEO, but as a man anchored in authenticity. That evening he met Mia at their favorite spot, a dim forested area of the park with twinkling lanterns hung between the trees. He enfolded her in an embrace, the warmth of shared clarity enveloping them both. "You won't believe what happened today," he exclaimed as they settled onto a nearby bench. "I saw the glow in your eyes while you were presenting what a shift you've made," she said, pride evident in her voice. "I confronted expectations and my own fear head-on. Nathan challenged me, but I stood my ground. I finally feel like," he paused, searching for authenticity in his expression, "I'm becoming the leader I was always meant to be, with you by my side." The look Mia gave him conveyed profound appreciation and excitement. "I always knew you had the potential to rise above the noise." Jake felt the completeness of that statement resonate deeply, not just as a recognition of progress, but as a commitment to not only grow within himself but with others. In that moment they nestled into the comfort of each other's being, ready to face a future both hopeful and bold. Just as he had carved a niche for himself among the towering facades of professional expectations, he knew they could dismantle the barriers imposed by society on their bond. The weight of opportunity shifted from his shoulders. With each passing moment, Jake embraced the vessel of change, not just digging deep into himself but uplifting those around him. And with Mia, he was armed with the knowledge that every challenge was an opportunity to redefine their collective journey. Through this journey, Jake didn't just achieve professional recognition. He actually transformed into a version of himself that he could respect, and one that Mia would proudly stand beside. What lay ahead was uncharted, yet he felt the thrill of chasing dreams together, not just within the corporate realm but woven through the fabric of their discreet lives. As they sat on that bench beneath the glowing lanterns that hung like stars, Jake reveled in the realization he had not only forged his identity, he had conquered the constraints of expectation, proving not only to the world around him but to himself that living authentically reaped rewards far greater than any corporate accolade. Feelings of satisfaction coursed through him, a tangible measure of personal growth and success found not just within the walls of a corporation, but in the shared laughter, connection, and love he had found with Mia. Torn pages of uncertainty turned inward and the horizon gleamed, promising the joys of new beginnings. Jake leaned in closer. "Let us dream together about everything we could accomplish, not just individually but as a team." It was a simple promise, a conscious commitment to not only stride forward personally but collectively. As their hands intertwined, it was clear they were ready to carve their own path. This was just the beginning of their journey together, a narrative unwritten, ripe with potential. The fight against misconceptions and expectations could yield beautiful outcomes, provided they dared to uphold authenticity, passion, and above all, love. The path ahead was vast and unwritten, and the thrill of new beginnings surged through Jake and Mia's connection, intertwining them into a powerful journey yet to unfold. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, what will happen next in their journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because they deserve to witness this incredible transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. And don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.